Alright guys, welcome to Exotics Anonymous. Today we're going to be talking about the auto industry as a whole and trends that I think, have been good and trends that have also been pretty bad, and maybe see if we can talk about how those things need to change or evolve going forward. Obviously, we've all got a period of time that we prefer to other periods of time. I think we've been pretty lucky the last, 10 to 15 years or so with some of the cars we've been getting, but I think maybe that they're starting to go the wrong direction with their more recent decisions that some of these manufacturers have been making. So I think we'll cover all the good and all the bad. We're going to start with the exterior, but as you can see, it's very cold outside where I am, so we'll keep this part about design pretty short, and then we'll get on to the inside and talk about some more broader trends that apply to a lot of cars. So an obvious thing with the outside of a car is the wheels. Now these are 19-inch wheels, 255 wide, and wheels are getting huge now. It'd be hard for you to find a 19 on a current day, German sports sedan. I bet they're probably a minimum of a 20, but more realistically a 21 or a 22. I know like the bigger SUVs, like the RSQ8s for example, are stretching to 23s. So the wheels are getting huge, and they're having to make suspension more complicated to compensate for the worse ride you're getting from these giant rims. And I just don't understand the logic there. I mean, why not have both? Why not have great suspension and, instead of a 23-inch wheel, maybe a 21-inch wheel, which still looks really good, but the car would probably ride even better. And it's not to say big wheels don't look great. A lot of the newer designs are actually really good. Like, I really like how the wheels look on the new Audi RS6 and 7 Performance. But why not just have that same design, an inch smaller with, a better ride? Because some of these cars have become very stiff. So that's the first thing when we're looking at the outside of the cars. I think design is obviously subjective. A lot of the newer cars maybe have gone too complicated with some of the styling. Audis actually haven't been too offensive in this regard, but things I will say that they have been doing is like they took the S badges off of their cars, which was ridiculous, and I know everyone complained and they're putting them back on. But even now, I think they're just putting on like an S badge instead of how this car says S6. The newer cars just say like S, which is, it's just like, why? That didn't need to be changed. That's a worse change. We don't need to be doing things that are in the opposite direction. Headlights have been getting more and more complicated as well. I mean, I don't even want to know what it would cost to replace a new headlight on, a new RS6 or 7. Not to keep drawing Audi comparisons, but that's what I have, and that's kind of, what we're looking at in the video here. But the same thing kind of applies to, Mercedes, BMW, and even Toyota and Lexus to a certain extent of changes that auto manufacturers have been making. Now, some better things that we could talk about maybe is like the cameras that are hidden right here in the front of the grille. Like things that help you when you're pulling into a spot, parking assist, stuff like that are always good. But they maybe have been getting a little too complicated with some of the self-driving stuff. Like on this car, you've got a camera right there and another one at the top of the windshield for the self-driving. And when those things break, it's very expensive to get fixed. Luckily, I haven't had to deal with that, but a lot of people have, and I know it's a headache when things like that go wrong, and the car will be throwing codes all the time, and it's just not ideal for anybody. So while the technology is good in many cases, sometimes it can be too much. And I think that can be said about pretty much every manufacturer. The only ones that seem to hold off on that stuff are Rolls-Royce. They wait until something's like really, top level to put it into the cars. They've gone electric recently, which kind of kills the whole point of waiting for technology to be at its peak before implementing it to a car. So it is so cold outside, it's not even funny. So let's get this started up, get the heat cranking. Wasn't a cold start for sure. Not the loudest this usually is, especially because I had the door closed. But this car is not, the loudest thing right out of the box anyways. You usually have to do an exhaust if you want to make it crazy. All right, so first thing I want to talk about right off the bat, straight in front of us, we've got the gauge cluster, right? We've got two real gauges and a screen in the middle. Now, this is a great mix. Nowadays, the cars are going completely screen. In this one, you can see, like, it gives you all the stuff you really need to know. Now, I do like the newer Audi screens where the whole thing is screen. It's called the digital cockpit. And I do like that. I've used it a lot, and I actually probably prefer it to this one. But there's some cars where the screen is so much that it's like, you don't even want it. It's too overwhelming. I'm trying to think of a good example for you guys off the top of my head. For example, actually, the new Audi screen, like the stuff in the 24s and up or 25s and up, for like the new A5, S5, that screen is ridiculous and it is not good. And I hope they kind of go back to what they've had since like 2017 to now, because that was so much better than the new system. I think the new Mercedes ones are getting too complicated too. Even the newer BMWs, BMW screen was okay the last few years, but now I think they've taken it too far. And it's just not better. Like what we had before was better. This was better. The 2017 and up Audi digital cockpit like you got in the R8 was better. They're taking it too far. We have to talk about the most important thing, the steering wheel, because that's what you interact with every time you get in the car. And a lot of companies have just like forgotten what a steering wheel should be. So let's take a quick look at this one to see what I have here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total things to touch, right? Sound, very important. If you press it, it mutes it, and if you scroll it, it makes it louder or quieter. Heated steering wheel, if your car has it. This one does, obviously. You've got your voice command and nav right here. This is to go sideways, and the thing right here, you can kind of see, some back and forth, stuff like that. So, Very simple stuff. This is your menu button. It'll pull up all the other, everything, and this can just scroll in here. So it's very simple control, stuff you need while you're driving, but you don't want to have to go looking over here for. Nowadays, we've got like Mercedes, for example, making all of this haptics. Like you have to do this weird motion with your thumb to change the volume. Same thing on this side. They've got like the cruise control on there too. That does not need to be on the steering wheel. There's nothing wrong with having a stalk over here for cruise control like it's been for years. It's overcomplicated. Same thing with Ferrari, and they got so much hate over it that they've now already started putting buttons back on their wheel because it was just not the better way. So at least we can see that these manufacturers will listen if we complain enough about it. But some of them just aren't getting the new hint. Like Audi's new steering wheel is awful. What they had after this wheel was even probably better than this one, even though I think this one might have looked a little better. Or, the flat bottom one of this generation was probably the best wheel they ever did. The new one is flat here and flat here. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but get rid of that, please. Take a quick look at the doors. Like we've got all regular, window switches here. Nothing ridiculous. No screens. I think Volkswagen put screens here. Crazy. Normal, unlock, lock, your memory seats right there. That's all you really need. One of the craziest things to me is how Porsche made you have to go into the infotainment to move these. Like what if you're driving and you need to, you're looking out at the road over there and you want to quickly, move this while you're driving because you're, say you're on a 2-hour road trip, your eyes are getting tired, something like that. Now you have to go into the screen to try to change that. That's A, dangerous. B, you might literally have to pull over to do it if you're not confident doing something like that. Like it's not a better design. I don't know who did that or why, but they're crazy. Something I want to briefly touch on, heads-up displays. You can see here I've just got the speed on mine. I think I could add 1 or 2 other things to this one, but nothing crazy, right? Now, you've got like 15 things up there depending on what brand's heads-up display you're going with. I mean, I wouldn't mind having the RPMs on there. They added that later. I didn't have that on this generation S6. The newer Audis do have that. I know the Mercedes had that. The BMWs have that too. But, you don't need your speed and your RPMs and the speed limit and the temperature and, what restaurants are around the corner and the red light and, there's too many things. Like, make things an option, but it's like you're looking at like a computer screen in front of you when you're supposed to be focusing on driving, which is getting crazy, which is extra crazy because you've already got a screen there. You've definitely got a screen there. You probably have a screen here depending on the car now, like Audi. We'll touch on that in a second. We don't need another like 8 things of information up in the screen in front of us. And if you're going to do it, make it look good. Like the BMW one is still so grainy. At least the Audi one's nice and crisp. The Mercedes one is too. The Bentley one's great. The Porsche one's great. That makes sense because they use the same as the Audi one probably. But overdoing some of this technology stuff is not necessarily better. We want things that process better, work better in our day-to-day lives, but not overcomplicate things. This one's more unique, but I know on newer Audis, the car won't start driving if you don't have the seatbelt buckled, which is fine, because some people probably forget it and that might be a good thing. But also, like, what if you have to move the car in an emergency or something, or like in a pinch, or if you're just going through a parking lot and there's, you're not even getting out of the road, or say you work at a car dealer, you're moving cars around, or you're gonna have to buckle your seatbelt every time you take it from one parking spot into the service bay, something like that. They're just overcomplicating things. That one might be regulation, but it's just like, why are we adding all these things to the cars? It's more things to break too. Speaking of things to break, a lot of cars have these mirrors now that are like screens. They're not actual mirrors, or they can switch between them. But I'm sure that camera system's going to break at some point. Like, what if it's one of those cars that doesn't have a windshield behind you and that breaks? What are you going to do? You can't drive the car basically until you go get a new screen in your mirror. Let's talk about climate control, because you can see in this car, I've got all my climate stuff right here. I can change, I have the upgraded dual zone climate, everything, so I can change either side. I can sync them both up. Got my heated seat buttons, right there. Everything's accessible, right? If you get into like the newer Audis, like anything 2018, A6, A7 and up, Q8, Q7, all that, it's a screen down there. And granted, it's one of the better screens, but while you're driving, you can't just like do it by feel. You have to like look, take your eyes off the road. It's not safer. It's less safe. I don't know why we're going less safe when standards are getting more strict for that type of thing. And I do think a lot of these manufacturers have heard these complaints and are starting to work on some of this stuff. But I don't understand how these things ever got greenlit in the first place. Just start sticking iPads everywhere. Like the new Mercedes interiors are ridiculous. There's literally a huge iPad right in the middle of the car. I don't understand who was okay with that. I'm glad that some of these things are starting to get worked on in the opposite direction for sure. One thing I will say that's gotten better is we get bigger and bigger sunroofs now. There's a lot of sedans, they'll have another sunroof right there, like a panoramic one. The only thing I don't like is some of the newer cars, they're doing these big sunroofs, but you can't open them. Make the sunroofs open. That's the whole point. You get, on a nice day, open the roof, get some fresh air in, get some like sunlight in, whatever you're going for. Why would you have a nice big sunroof like that you can't open? If you can't open it because it's too big, make it a little smaller and make it open. I realize I'm ranting a lot in this video, but people pay a lot of money for these cars, and they should be good products and not overly complicated for the sake of being overly complicated. Something good I will say is I feel like seats are still pretty good. I love these seats, and like Audi recently added a heated cool massage function to the newer cars, like an SQ8 that has these. That's great. I would have loved if these had cooled and massaging as well as the heated and still look like this. I mean, they look awesome. I love these seats. But yeah, I mean, that's a good thing they've added, but everything should be like that. Like small improvements that make it better, not just like drastically replacing everything just for the sake of doing it, really. And this one's a little trickier, but infotainments in cars, I feel like are getting almost irrelevant. I wouldn't be shocked if we just saw like Apple CarPlay replace everything soon. Although I just saw GM, I think, is getting rid of Apple CarPlay altogether, so I feel like that won't age well for them. I'm not going to lie. I saw they're doing something subscription-based, which is just crazy to me. But the infotainments, let them do the simple things, you know, change the lighting inside the car, like, you know, car-specific stuff. But at this point, I feel like the Apple CarPlay navigation is just so much better. That's probably going to take over for the foreseeable future, I would say. I want the manufacturers to still have their own unique infotainment feeling, because it's, you know, something you think of every time you get in the car. Like I think of that part in the middle when I think of my car all the time. And I'm sure people with the digital dash think of that in their car. I don't really like that new Apple CarPlay Ultra that Aston Martin already launched, where it like kind of replaces the whole UI, because then you kind of don't feel like you're in an Aston Martin anymore. You feel like you're driving anything else that has that CarPlay Ultra. So I don't really want to see that become the trend, but you know, I hope manufacturers keep kind of having their own style. Like this Audi one, you can kind of see it's got like the red lines. It's very Audi colors, matches like the S6 badge down there. So I kind of like this amount of infotainment, but then, you know, have Apple CarPlay for the middle screen, and I think everything would be in a good middle ground like that. All right, so I want to thank you guys for watching. Sorry I couldn't get more outside the car footage for you. It is so cold and so windy today. It says it feels like 8 degrees with the wind chill. So, I mean, I got some gloves with me, but that's not enough to deal with this for a long time. Plus the wind was so bad I didn't know if you could hear me on the microphone anyway. Thanks for watching. Please go check out the other videos on my channel. I've got a lot of stuff specifically on this S6 coming out. If you haven't seen my video already on what went wrong with the car, it was pretty funny. And then I've got a full video coming on all the maintenance I've done, so check that out if I haven't dropped it already. And a full ownership review of the S6 coming as well very soon. And, you know, I've got a lot of other topics and everything on my channel I talk about, so please like and subscribe. I'd love to see you in another video. Comment down below if there's any trends you think that I missed touching on, or you think are important to the auto industry going forward, or you'd like to see be put into cars. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.